So I tell them to be known all things, to stay true to thyself, because that's the thing that's going to carry on to the rest of your life. Your legacy is when you die and what you leave behind and the people that you touched and helped, not a belt, not championships, not those things. Those things are just the icing on the cake for me. So.
Hello, this is James Cox. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Today I got Durwyn Lamb. This is Coach D. He's the owner of Lamb MMA in Fort Worth, Texas. Coach D is a professional striking coach, man, licensed event promoter, motivational speaker, community leader. He's out there, he's doing things. So I've seen him from afar, and we've seen each other at events through the years and supported each other here and there. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, sir. Thanks for all that you do for the MMA, for the community, and just you know, for this lifestyle of the martial arts that we live. But if you wanted to start off, man, just tell us a little bit, you know, kind of about yourself, because I know you've been in this fight game a long time, and I know as well, like, you know, you've gone through those struggles and challenges and the blood, sweat, and tears. You put in the sweat equity, right, to get to where you are. But tell us a little bit about yourself and this game that you live, right?
Yeah. You know, I've been involved with martial arts off and on for about 37 years. It's come from a traditional martial art background. My mom, my dad, and my uncles were all traditional martial artists, pretty popular ones in this metroplex and area, by the way. And so I kind of just got into it by default. I used to go to karate practice with my mom all the time, and then go to boxing practice with my uncles. Wasn't really interested in it at first, but just being around it so long, started actually training about 8 or 9 years old, and then started training traditional martial arts and taekwondo and then karate, and stayed with it all the way up. So I was about 16 years old, and then other courses of life took over, being a young knucklehead, and started moving in a direction that was probably not the best for me. And then probably back in my early 20s when I got back to competing in full contact kickboxing and boxing and all that great stuff. And I started coaching by default too. I was married at the time. My ex-wife was one of my pro boxers. My stepson wanted to box. He had already had a coach, and his coach kind of bailed out on him, so he asked me to continue to coach, and I actually built my team from that. So I started actually coaching and boxing, and then shortly there I started building my mixed martial arts team, my kickboxing team, and my boxing team. At the time I was competing as well. So that's how it all kind of started. You know, didn't think that it would lead to what I was doing now. Not at all. I didn't think that that coaching would lead to everything that I started doing now in the last 20 years. So it's pretty interesting journey there.
Yeah, man, I know, right? So you never know, right? I mean, I have kind of a similar background there too, and you just never know, man. We were young and dumb, thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and a lot of times it's nothing like that. You know, I think you can have the right dreams and put the passion and work in to follow something. But well, you're doing some good things, man. Your fighters are excelling. You've got a lot going on. Well, talk to us about this coaching journey. And you know, I know you put something out, man, that caught my eye, and it was about a lot of the things that people just don't realize what we go through. You know, we're not crying for sympathy. It's just real talk and the things that are not seen behind the scenes, right?
And you're right. It's not crying. It's about understanding. And I think that being a coach is probably one of the most thankless jobs that are out there, and most underappreciated jobs that are out there. And so, you know, I can tell you this, that I had a tough life. A lot of it was self-inflicted, and some things which just was not. But I can tell you that one of the toughest journeys I've had as an adult and as a man in life was being a coach. One of the most challenging things is being a coach. I didn't know it was going to entail all these things that it did, and I didn't think it was going to come with all the stuff that it did, because when I was 25 years old and started coaching, it was fun to me. You know, I got a chance to grow with the guys, and I was a young coach and still competing. It was fun. But as time went on, I didn't know that it came with, you know, a lot of these things that it come with. And that a lot of it is, you know, some of these young people don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing it. But being a leader, being a coach, it's very stressful. I know for me, my journey as a coach has been pretty good, but I've dealt with more headaches, more stress, more all those things in life as a coach than I did in real life in general. So,
Hmm.
I was a former gang member affiliated years ago back in the day, been in the streets, been through all that stuff, but I can tell you that I have not this coaching thing has been way more interesting than anything else in life because it's so much
Hmm.
stuff. Because I came to this game with an open heart and a pure spirit and wanting to help and do right by these young folks and stuff. And I didn't know that. I mean, I'm saying even just from like the fighters, the promoters, the other coaches, the so much in this thing that people do, and I couldn't understand why people move the way they move in this game. I never understood it. I won't understand it because I just don't move that way. And so I've been on the receiving end of like people doing things that they shouldn't have been doing and backstabbing and all that kind of stuff. I just and there was times I questioned should I keep coaching, but what I found with myself in coaching is all the other things that led up to what I'm doing now, which is public speaking, implementing programs in schools with the kids, doing community stuff. Had I not became a coach, I don't know if all those doors would have opened. So coaching has opened those doors for me, and that's why one of the reasons why I still do it. At first, it was because I wanted to be a good striking coach and want to be known as a striking coach. But then, as I realized what my purpose was, I found my purpose while I was coaching. Meaning, I found who I was as a man and my true identity when I started coaching. So I'm thankful for God for that, and I'm also thankful for the trials and tribulations, man, because those things also taught me a lot as well and grew me to be the man that am now and the man that I'm steady becoming to this day.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. Yeah, and you're right. Going through those struggles and the things you've seen, but then the things that we see inside of the game and dealing with these students and fighters and how much you can pour into them. And you just never know. You don't know who's going to leave you tomorrow, who's going to try and open a gym next door, who's going to say this or that, who's going to get in someone else is going to get in their head about what they can do for them. I mean, it's a dirty business at times, but you know that, and you see that it's just part of it, and then the stronger value outweighs of the benefits that you're given, and in many ways the lives that you are changing, just like it did for yourself, and giving it back. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't know what we can do. Loyalty is a part of martial arts. It's that, it's that samurai warrior spirit. But today's world, man, we don't get a lot of that loyalty.
No, I that's one thing I always talk about when I talk to my guys. Like I come up from a traditional martial art background. I remember watching my uncle and my dad and their friends and my mom and them. I watched how close they was, the honor and respect that they had. It was way different than it is today. But what I do is I still instill those same values in those guys or gals when I'm coaching them, simply because it's deeper than me. It's deeper than the fight game for me. It's about embodying the spirit of a martial artist, meaning the spiritual side of it. And I try to teach my guys that, you know, it's okay that you guys become good fighters, or if you want to become a world champion, that's okay to me. That's actually just like icing on the cake. My job is to try to make you see the light of how the world is and become great men and great women and have and make sure that your character carries on through after you fight and you become great mothers or great fathers or great people or great leaders and are great spiritual people or just good pure people in this world. If you become a world champion and but you don't become a good person, then I have failed in that sense. Now, if I've taught you the things and gave you the tools to this world to to live and do well in, and you don't choose that, then that's not on me. That's on you. And I have a saying to these young men and women that the world is a very strange and nasty place, and it will give you every tool you need to destroy yourself. So I tell them to be on known all things to stay true to thyself, because that's the thing that's going to carry on to the rest of your life. Your legacy is when you die and what you leave behind and the people that you touched and helped, not a belt, not championships, not those things. Those things are just the icing on the cake for me. So that's how I look at life in general.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree, man. That's beautiful, and that's the truth. And I guess they know when they know, and that's the things that you're trying to do is to make sure. So it's them becoming the best versions of themselves. People ask me about black belt all the time, black belt, and that's my definition of a black belt is that you becoming the best version of yourself, like truly 100%. You are where you can be right now, and then tomorrow you're 1% better, and you just kind of keep striving for that. But yeah, man, I've seen a lot of heads change, right, with a couple of wins, or this is in comparison to somebody who gets some money, right, rags to riches, and but where are we on the inside, and did we build them as a martial artist from the inside? I guess a lot into mindset. So tell me maybe more about the mindset of the fighters, because you're training warriors. I mean, you're training boxers, kickboxers, MMA fighters. I think I've seen you on some UFC cards, some things like that, right? You're out there, man. So, and then you do your job, and they're in there, and it's a dangerous sport, and it's a war. Lots could happen, especially in MMA, So what are you doing for the mindset of these guys, and how is mindset important? If you just talk to us about that topic.
So physical training. So the mental training is just as important as the physical training, but more so, because there's a lot of people that can physically do things, but can't translate into a real situation. So my thing is, I try to get inside their mindset and try to get to know them individually to see what their weaknesses are and their strengths are. How I can even strengthen their strengths and even strengthen their weaknesses. And so the main thing for me is the mental training, showing them that you the fight game and being in that cage in that ring is more of a mental battle than it is a physical battle. And if you have the mental strength, then for sure it can translate to the physical strength. Because I know a lot of athletes and I know guys like this, they'll come in the gym and they can kick your butt in the gym, beat you up, but then when the lights turn on, they change. Or when it's a real fight for them, it changes. So that to me shows that's a mental thing. So the main thing for me is working on the mental mind. A lot of physical drills so they can become muscle memory. So that way, even when sometimes they might like get nervous or get scared of something, that the training kind of takes over, and then that mental aspect and that physical aspect comes together. So for me, it's really I do a lot of talking to the guys before training. So after they jump rope, I instantly go into like mental training, talking to them first before we start training to get in their mindset, to get their mindset prepared for training. So I do that all the time, almost every single day. So even if there's something going on in their head or going on in their outside life, I'm not the guy that says, leave your problems at the door, because I know that's kind of mentally, physically impossible. I just say be able to learn how to deal with yourself. And if you know yourself and you know how to deal with the problems outside there and know how to come in here and still train and get mentally strong, and that's going to make you the most mental prepared warrior ever, being able to deal with life and also being able to come in the gym and still train and putting that together and using those things to help you fight when you're inside that cage in that ring.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, you know how some people will win or lose the fight in the dressing room in their mind, right? Before they ever even went out, man. If something, that adrenaline dump, that pressure, that negative self-talk, something done got in their head where they're out there and they'd already lost. And it doesn't matter what they have physically, right? If they don't have it up top there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what do you see is happening with MMA? Because from UFC number one, lots has changed. I think it was a lot of early domination with jiu-jitsu guys and then strikers. Depending on the area, you definitely see wrestlers, somewhat dominating at times. So you to create the champions you got to make these guys well-rounded, man. And what are you doing on that as far as being well-rounded? And what does that mean? And how do we notice strengths and weaknesses? Because everybody's different.
Yeah. Well, being that I am primarily a striking guy and stuff. Of course, I've been doing. People don't know I've been doing grappling off and on for like 25 years, but most of my guys are strikers. But I did understand that in order to have a complete team, that I had to bring in the high level wrestling coaches and then the jiu-jitsu coaches as well. At this point, when I first started coaching, most of my guys they wasn't as well rounded as they are now. Now most of my guys, I got a kid. I talk about specifically this kid that I have named Kevin Fernandez. He's on his way to the show next. But when I started training him at 14 years old, he's 24 now. He was a striker, but he was able to learn striking and jiu-jitsu and wrestling pretty much at the same time. So that made him a well-rounded fighter. So I just think that in order to be successful, you're going to have to know all things. You can't just be good at one thing. That's just not how this goes no more. And then they proved that in UFC 1 in the early stage. And for the most part, people caught on. For the most people caught on. I say if you have a style that you like to fight, if you want to be a striker, then you have to really work on your wrestling and your jiu-jitsu. If you want to be a guy that want to take people down all the time, then you also have to work on your striking. So if you want to be a good jiu-jitsu practitioner in the cage, then you still have to work on your wrestling, and you still have to work on your boxing and kickboxing. So everybody has to work on their weaknesses. That's just the bottom line. There's no way around it no more, because now everything's naturally exposed. When UFC first came out, people didn't know who the Gracies was. They didn't know who these guys was. And so, but then now you see as time evolved, everybody's got on board, and now everybody's doing that now. So that's why you see more, what I see now, more of like the strikers being more dominant now, or even the guys that weren't really strikers becoming strikers. You notice that wrestlers that was regular wrestlers now are now becoming knockout artists, and now jiu-jitsu guys are becoming people that can knock people down and knock people out too. So that's what I see. I think everybody's got on board and straightened up their weaknesses in their game all around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to, man. I mean, or just do a straight other sport. I mean, if you just want to mainly box, just do boxing, or just do kickboxing. If you're going to do MMA, then listen to it. It is mixed martial arts, right? And it's a tough sport. You never know, and many times, not always does the better fighter win, because there's so much could happen where you're doing everything right and you just got caught. It's not even what you did wrong, it's what the other dude did right, or just timing or opportunity. I don't like to say luck, because these dudes train, but can come out of nowhere, right? It's crazy.
We saw it with Aljamain and O'Malley. I generally pick Aljamain to win that fight for sure, but and I would think that out of those 9 out of 10 of those fights, I would think that he would be the guy to win. But he came in, got timed real well with that right hand, and that was it. So that was a prime example of what you're talking about right there.
Yeah. They could fight 10 times and he'd win 9 of them. But that once, he did it.
Yeah. And that's all that mattered, and that got him the belt.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So what about all-time fighters? I mean, it can be boxer, kickbox, MMA. It could be past or present, or maybe give me a couple. I'd like to know, who are your favorite all-time fighters, and then even more so, why?
For boxing, for me, it's Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay.
I've always liked him. He was a guy that was a warrior that would fight everybody. He was at a time where that weight class was the most fierce weight class, and that guy was one of the most fierce fighters, and not scared, and technical, skillful, strong, fierce, and fought against all the best fighters, all the giants, all the killers, and became a lion in that den, and won those championships. I always liked his character, liked the way he trained. I love his speed. I love his grace. I love his movement. He was one of my favorite. He's my favorite. One of my favorite boxers of all time. I think that guy at that time could fight and beat anybody in this days now. If take that guy in that era and put him here with the Mayweathers and all these guys right now, I think he can beat all those guys. I think so. And so I think he was ahead of his time. MMA wise, it's now it was Anderson Silva, but now it's Israel Adesanya. I really like that guy. I really like the way he fights. I like his timing. I like his calmness. I like his movement. I like his IQ. I'm a big fan of his. There's a few guys I like. I like John Jones as well, but I love him. Kickboxing wise, man, there's a few guys. There's a guy named Pete Sugarfoot Cunningham. Uh, I'm a big fan of Pete Sugarfoot Cunningham. Andy Hung. I like a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
old kickboxing guys. I like old Troy. I like Troy. Troy Dorsey's a good friend of my dad and my uncle. But I like the way he fought
Yeah.
back in the day. But yeah, I like a lot of those old school kickboxers, man. I'm a big fan of those guys. So
They pressed, right? They were aggressive, went forward, head forward, and just fought. It was a lot of toughness. It was a lot of toughness. It was a lot of determination and that no quit attitude. And they had the skill too, but they weren't afraid to hit or get hit.
yeah. I like Kathy Long. Uh,
Mm.
loved her. She's one of my favorite fighters of all time, man or woman. Kathy Long. See, people forget about these people. Lucia
Yeah.
Riker. I like these are I like these people. Those are my type of people, man. Roy Jones Jr. is one of my favorite boxers of all time as well. Roy Jones Jr. So yeah, I can go on, man. I got
Yeah,
a
right.
few guys. Those are just some of the guys I just named off the top that I like. You know.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Yeah, it was some legends for sure that pioneered the sport. I mean, from the Bill Wallace to the Mike Tyson to you
Yeah,
name it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, can't be replicated. They just
No,
can't. Yeah. So, what else you got going on, man? I know you're doing. I know you do seminars. You got some promotions. You're promoting events in the Fort Worth area, right? So, I guess tell us how we can support you and what all you got going on.
well, yeah. I mean, you can find me on my Lamb 4 page or my Durwyn Lamb 4 regular page or Durwyn Lamb on Facebook. But yeah, I do have a license now. We got a show coming up September 9th. It's a amateur MMA show, and Muay Thai as well. September 9th this weekend. I'm throwing it with a former UFC fighter, Stephen Ocho Peterson. So we're collabing together on this show to do it together. So I'm excited about that. We've been doing for the last 3 years like these underground exhibition boxing fights. We started this movement. There was this movement that was going across the nation. A lot of the leaders in each state and the community got together. It was called "Put Down the Guns and Pick Up the Gloves." So it was a guns down, gloves up movement. So we do a lot of street guys that was in the gangs or into the streets and whatever they was doing. We had these organizations where we would bring them in and let them fight each other and try to bring people together. That was the goal for me, was to get these guys off the streets and bring them all together, whether it was from different sets, different hoods, different backgrounds, bring people together, and they'll do exhibition fights, and it stop people from killing each other. Since we've done that in the metroplex in this city, and we've brought Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, everybody together. Me being one of the prime leaders in bringing everybody together with this movement, the crime rate has went down a lot. You don't get a lot
Hmm.
of the killings and shootings and things like that. And I've noticed when you bring people together under that umbrella, especially on the umbrella of love and unity, then you'll find out that a lot of these guys didn't have a lot of problems and a lot of issues with each other anyway. It was just, systematically oppression. And I had to show them that it's not that serious, it's not that deep. And a lot of these guys became friends after fighting each other. And then we was throwing these shows every month on Tuesday night. And then we got other people on board in the city together, and they started throwing the same thing. So that was a big thing for me, man. The crime rate has dropped a lot in our city. We had a big crime rate in the city of Fort Worth. We was actually one of the murder capitals of the world at one point, and now it's changed a lot. And in my neighborhood, I got a lot of guys together, and from all the other neighborhoods in the metroplex to come together and under the unity and togetherness for this thing. And so I use my platform when I started implementing programs like life empowerment programs, like in the inner city schools, to help these kids prepare themselves for life or teach them the right direction to go. Because a lot of people aren't talking to these kids like that. So, and I wasn't talked to, so I had to learn life the hard way, which I'm glad I did, because now I'm able to speak from experience. So I go and talk to these kids in the school and do public speaking and motivational speaking, and then I use the platform of martial arts as well to bring everybody together under the banner of unity. So I'm not just doing this for, just to throw fights. I'm doing this I like people. I like bringing people together, and I like unity. So if I can help have a hand in that, then that's what I believe my ultimate purpose is for the community and for God's people. And that's why I actually do everything that I'm doing now.
100%. Yeah, man. Yeah, Coach D, we need more people like you, because that's making the small changes and differences to, eventually make bigger things happen and better. So, yeah, congrats, and appreciate all that. All right, man. So, you got anything else you want to say to the listeners? And I know you're out there putting out content. You're doing the good thing, so keep that up. I'll see you around. Let me know when you have these next shows too. But well, what do you want to leave us with? Some good words of wisdom, I guess.
The biggest thing is that everybody has an appointed time in life, and it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s. It don't matter if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s. A lot of times, we tend to give up, or we look at other people's lives and say, "Hey, why don't I have this, or why I'm doing this?" And I learned one thing: long as you understand your purpose, then you'll get there. And I think the biggest strength of a human being to have is patience and accountability and humility. With those three things, I think you have a good life. I think a lot of times we get sidetracked off what's going on in the world and all the negative things that's going on in the world, and then we lose track of who we are and ourselves. And if we just stay the course and take those steps. I was telling a young man the other day, I said, long as you're walking and long as you're stepping, you're close. You're close to your destination. It's when we stop walking or decide that we want to turn back around because it's too hard or we don't know where we're going, that's when we lose. But even if it's baby steps, sometimes you're going to take baby steps, sometimes you're going to take long steps. As long as you keep stepping, along that road, you might get sidetracked, you might go to a scenic route, you might stop, you might get tired. But the name of the game is to keep stepping. And as long as you keep stepping, you will get to that destination. I think a lot of times we stop, or we figure we got to do something else, or we get scared, or we get mad, get upset, and we quit.
Yes, you're so right there, Coach. I appreciate everything that you had to say, man, and for coming on the show today. There was some great content there. Guys, be sure you check him out. You can find some ways to get some seminar and promote those upcoming events that he has in the DFW area. Also, don't forget to follow all of these podcasts that we have, as well as check out my YouTube page, James Cox Martial Arts. Thanks.